Once again, please ignore the background, still moving. Thanks. Little disclaimer. Glad to be back and glad to see you here. If you're new, welcome. Glad to see you here. By the title, you probably already know this is a review on the Kat Von D Saint and Sinner palette. I'm really excited to do this review. I have been working on it for a few weeks. I have used every single shade in the palette, and I am ready to tell you my thoughts on this palette. So the first thing I wanted to look at for this palette is what is the value of this palette. This palette has 24 shades and each shade is 1 gram per pan. So this palette is priced at $62, which I know there was a lot of complaints at the price of the palette, but if you look at it, there's 24 pans, 1 gram per pan, so that's 24 grams of product that you receive, and if you divide that by 62, I'm looking down at my notes, that's $2.58 per shadow, so that's a pretty decent price. Two of the YouTubers that I like to watch a lot are Jen Loves Review and Stephanie Nicole, and they both talk about how when an eyeshadow and a palette is under $3, that's a pretty good price for a high-end makeup palette. So regarding this palette, that's a decent price, $2 and, looking down at my notes again, 58 cents for it. So the second thing I wanted to talk about in this is the packaging. And Kat Von D has talked about how she wanted the packaging to have a cathedral feel. You know, the concept, the theme of this palette is Saint and Sinner. So it's supposed to look like maybe like some cathedral doors, and I think she did a great job. It looks beautiful. The back of the package has the shades on it, the names with the shades, and then it also has the ingredients on it and says, you know, Saint and Sinner palette. So then when you open it up, get it out, and I'm just gonna say it, like, I'm so proud of myself for remembering to save the box. So proud of myself. Okay, so when you open the box and you see the actual packaging, it looks just like the box, the front part. Absolutely gorgeous. And then it opens up like these cathedral doors, and it's so impressive. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a giant palette, but it's gorgeous. So then you have these nice mirrors on either side of the palette, but I myself find that every time I use this palette, I just fold it back and have the palette like this on my desk. So once it's opened, you have your 24 shades here, and you have the Saint, and then you have the Sinner side. One of the things that I feel like it's kind of a gripe is that this is something that I would not want to travel with. It is a large palette. It is also a limited edition palette, and I just wouldn't want to travel with it. One, it's limited edition. I don't want it to break in travel, and I won't be able to buy it again. Second, it's large. When I'm traveling, I'm trying to bring like small palettes with me, and this isn't small, so I probably wouldn't bring this with me traveling. But it doesn't mean it's not a good palette. It just means I wouldn't travel with it. That's what I've got for the packaging wise, but for the actual product, I want to talk about every single shade and tell you what I feel about each and every shade, about how it performs, about the formula, and, you know, just what I think of this palette overall. So let's get into that. So I am going to go through each shade and explain what I felt about each shade and how I felt it performed, and I'm going to kind of categorize it off into the types of shadow that it is, because I feel that those types that I've kind of categorized it off to kind of perform the same and have about the same formula. So I'm going to start with the Saint side and move on to the Sinner side. So on the Saint side, we have Absolution, and Absolution is supposed to be like the Glimmer palette that Kat Von D came out with. It is a shade that is like the Glimmer palette, and it's more of like meant to be more of like a topper shadow, but for myself, I find that I won't use it if I'm using it as like a topper shadow. So what I mostly used it for was inner corner and brow bone highlight, and today that's what I'm wearing on my inner corner and on my brow bone. I wouldn't say this is my favorite formula that I've ever used, but it's decent. I find that it's a lot like Cube from the Subculture palette, but it doesn't seal like Cube does if you've used Cube. And it's just kind of annoying to work with. It's like chunky and glittery, and it's just not my cup of tea, basically. I personally don't like that formula very much, but I still would use it. It still works. It's just not my favorite, if that makes sense. So the next ones I'm going to look at are the shimmer kind of satiny shades, which are on the Saint side: Worship, Immaculate, Sacred Heart, Chalice, Sanctuary, and Rosary. So all of these shades, I usually use wet. I like to use these wet because it gives them more of a pop. I did try using them dry, but for me, it just wasn't the pop that I wanted. So I will get a flat brush with some MAC Fix Plus and I will use them wet, and it's exactly what I want. It's that nice pop with like a satin finish, and they paint on beautifully. They have great lasting power, and I loved how they worked. The next ones I'm going to look at are Heaven and Cathedral. These are like a glitter shimmer type of formula, and they are a bit chunkier, but I use them the same way as the shimmer satin shades. I use them wet with a flat brush with MAC Fix Plus, and they work well. They have great staying power, and I did find that these actually blended out better and dried faster when I was applying them to my eyes than the shimmer satin shades did. So that was really interesting for me, because usually I feel like it's the other way around, and they had great staying power as well, and performed well throughout the day. So the last of the shades are going to be the matte shades on the Saint side, which is Amen, Crucifix, and Baptism. So Baptism and Amen are shades that I used basically as my base. I would use it after I put on my eyeshadow primer, and just to, like, you know, prime my eyes and put it on as my base coat, and then move on with my eyeshadow, because those are not shades that I'm going to use in my crease or anything like that. They're just too light. I also used Amen as a highlight, and same thing with Baptism. I used it as a highlight. So Crucifix, I used, I think, almost every single look that I did, except for when I would use Sabbath, which is the black shade on the center side. Crucifix is a great shade. I did find that it can be a little bit patchy and difficult to work with at times, and I haven't figured out what it is, because some days I feel like it just goes on and it blends out perfectly and it's wonderful, and then other days I'm like, why is it feeling patchy today? So I couldn't really figure out what it was, because I used my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer every single day, so I'm not really sure. It may have been the eyeshadow brushes that I was using, and I did find that my Eco Tools double-ended eyeshadow brush worked the best with Crucifix, and it's kind of, let me show you. I would use this end of it and this end of it. So, and then, you know, blend it out on the outer corner, and I loved it. Crucifix, I used almost every single shade. Great staying power, all that good stuff. So moving on to the center side, we've got Rapture, which is also one of those glimmer shades. And for Rapture, I found, you know, I'm not going to use that for an eyebrow highlight. So what I did was I took a flat brush and I used MAC Fix Plus, and I used it wet. And oh my gosh, did it pop. It was absolutely beautiful. I used it on the inner third of my eye, and it was gorgeous. It was such a bright, glimmering pink, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Like, it was gorgeous. I love it. So although I would not use it dry, I would only use it wet. That's just my preference. That's how I use these types of shades to begin with. It came out beautifully, and the staying power was great on it, and I loved it. So the next shades I want to talk about on the center side are going to be these glitter infused mattes. So on this side there are 3 of them. There are Ashes, Revelation, and Exodus. So these 3 shades are the glitter infused mattes, which I will be the first one to say, every other formula that I have ever tried that had glitter infused mattes, I did not like. And when I first got this palette, I thought to myself, those are 3 shades that I won't be using. They're pretty, but I won't be using them. Except for the Exodus. I was like, I don't have a green like that. I'm going to figure out how to make that work for me. So, one day when I was using Martyr and Devil, I decided to use Ashes in my crease, and I was like, this is probably going to be a mistake, and I have to wash my face after this. But I was so impressed by this shade. I was just like blown away because, as I said, usually I hate glitter infused shades, but these performed so well. Once you apply these to the eyes, they almost become mostly matte with a tiny bit of like glitter reflected there, and it's just a smidge. And they blend well. The glitter, I don't know where the extra glitter goes, because when you're looking at the pan, there's a lot of glitter in there, but once it goes on your eyes, there's just a touch of it. But it's not all over my desk, it's not all over my face, you know? So, I don't know. I don't even know for sure how to explain these little babies, but they work so well. Yeah, so I was just so impressed by these 3 shades. I think those were my, like, overall most impressed shades in the palette. And then moving on to the satin shimmer-esque shades, that would be Vestment, Ministry, Relic, and Stigmata. So Vestment, Ministry, and Stigmata, they were like any other satin shimmer shades. They worked well. They had great staying power. Again, I use them wet because that's just how I use them. I use them with flat brush, MAC Fix Plus, and they worked well. They had great staying power, everything, you know. Relic, when I first applied it, I was so impressed. I was like, this is the most gorgeous gold shade I have ever used in my life. I was just so blown away. And if you go on my Instagram, Jessica Maria 5334, you can see one of the looks that I did with it, and I was just so blown away by it. But, and unfortunately there's a but, after about 3 or 4 hours, it started to crease. It started to move on my eye. It started to fade. And I was so disappointed because I was just so excited that it was such a, like, vibrant gold. And it doesn't last. And so at this point, I had also just opened up a brand new eyeshadow primer. So I was like, you know what? Maybe my eyeshadow primer isn't mixed all the way. I've had this one sitting in a drawer waiting until I was out of my other one. Let me try and like fix any variables that might be here. And I reused it 3 times, and all 3 times it did the same thing. So I will definitely be using this again. I love this shade, but know that when you're using it, only expect it to last exactly the way you've put it on your eyes for 3 to 4 hours. And the next time I use it, it's going to be when I know I'm only going out for a short period of time, or only expecting it to stay nice for a short period of time. It's not going to be something that I know has that staying power. So that's just one thing I wanted to make sure that I said about that one, which was, it was disappointing. It was, but honestly, it's just such a bright gold. I'm still okay with it. Like, I'm mad at it, but not at the same time. I don't even know. But, so the last shades I have here on the center side are Sabbath, Martyr, and Devil, and these are your matte shades. So Sabbath is a very dark black, but it is chalky. It is chalky, and it also skips on ya. I only used it a few times because I don't really use black that much anyway to begin with. I like using Crucifix, a dark brown type of shade in my outer corner. But I did use Sabbath a few times, and I did find that it was chalky and it would skip. And if you laid it down, it was staying there. Don't, like, it's there. Once it's there, once you put it there, it's there. And it was a little difficult to work with to, you know, blend out and everything. But Martyr and Devil, amazing shades. These are probably my favorite shades out of the entire collection. They are the shades that I have on today, and they're the ones that got my eye. And I was like, these are my favorite, like, straight away. I just love my oranges and, like, this burnt, like, tan color, and it's just really folly also at the moment, you know. Anyways, but yeah, so those are my favorite, and they just work so well. One thing I did notice with both of these, and I'm not sure if it's because it has talc, or I know also this formula has dimethicone in it, and I believe that is an eye irritant for some. I found that my eyes do water with Exodus, Devil, and Martyr. If I get like some powder, like, you know, sprayed into my eye, or if I'm packing it on and building it up, I do find that my eyes can start watering. That also happens with Crucifix. So it's Crucifix, Martyr, Devil, and Exodus that I found that my eyes water with sometimes and did get a little bit irritated with. Now, I do have pretty sensitive eyes. So for people with sensitive eyes, you might want to keep that in mind. And that is all of the shades. I'm going to go ahead and swatch these out for you guys and show you each shade one by one swatched out. For the swatches, I am going to start out on the Saint side and then move on to the Sinner side. And for each swatch, I'll do about 5 swatches, probably 4 or 5 swatches on my hand. I'll wash it off, and then I'll do another 4 or 5 swatches. For the first 4 shades, I've got Absolution, Worship, Immaculate, and Chalice. These shades are gorgeous, and you can see how with Absolution it's kind of like a topper type of thing. And with Worship, Immaculate, and Chalice, those are those satiny finished shades. And when you use your finger, that's another way you can use these actually, is with your finger, which personally I don't like using my finger. That's why I always use a flat brush with MAC Fix Plus, because I personally don't like using my finger with my eyeshadow. But that's another way, if you like to use your finger, that these would probably work really well, and you would get like the full effect and the full pigment of them. So the next 4 I'm gonna do are Sacred Heart, Amen, Sanctuary, and Heaven. So there they are. So the first one is the Sacred Heart, and then Amen, Sanctuary, and Heaven. And you can just see, this is that matte white shade, Amen, and then the rest of these are like, these 2 are like a shimmer satin, and then this is like the glittery shimmer type of thing. But this one, I love how it has like a shade of lavender purple to the gray, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So then the next 4 are going to be Crucifix, Cathedral, Rosary, and Baptism. So Crucifix, Cathedral, Rosary, and Baptism. And again, that Baptism, it's a really light pink shade, doesn't really show up on my eye. It's a great base for me. And Rosary and Cathedral, you can see, just absolutely gorgeous. And you know, if you like to use your fingers, I mean, look at these swatches. That finger on your eye would be great, or flat brush with MAC Fix Plus. Crucifix right here, it's a really dark matte brown, absolutely gorgeous. Alright, so we're going to move on to the Sinner side, and the first 4 shades I'm going to be swatching on the Sinner side are Rapture, Sabbath, Ashes, and Martyr. Okay, so here you can see Rapture is that glimmer shade, also like Absolution, and then Sabbath is a black, and you can see the black is a very good black. It's a dark black, but when using it with the brush, it is kind of chalky and it skips. So keep that in mind when you're using it. It's a little difficult to work with. This is Ashes. Ashes is almost the same shade as my skin tone, so it makes for a really great cool tone crease for me. And then this is Martyr, and Martyr is really close to my skin tone as well, so it's a little difficult to see on my skin tone, but it makes for a great inner corner shade, and that's actually what I have in my inner corner today is Martyr. The next 4 shades I'm going to do are Devil, Revelation, Vestment, and Ministry. So here's Devil, Revelation, Vestment, and Ministry. Now, Vestment and Ministry are very soft formulas, so you can see them chunks in that swatch. They're just very soft formulas. I did not press very hard for the swatches, but they're just very soft, so they come up very easily. So this is Devil. This is probably my favorite shade out of all the shades in the palette. It is just an absolute gorgeous burnt orange, and that is what I'm wearing on my crease today. And then here is Revelation. That is that glitter infused brown. And then here is Vestment. It is like a black and green shade. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then here is that blue Ministry shade. All right, the last 4 shades I'm gonna do are Exodus, Exorcism, Relic, and Stigmata. So here's Exodus, Exorcism, Relic, and Stigmata. And Exodus is just such a beautiful green. I love it. It comes out so well. And then this beautiful deep purple. And then you can see Relic and Stigmata are a lot like Vestment and Ministry. They're very soft formulas. So you can see, like, I did not put my finger in it very hard. They're just very soft formulas. There's like fiber right there. They're just very soft formulas. And you can see how vibrant that gold is. It is just so bright. Look at that. It's so gorgeous. And Stigmata is a gorgeous shade as well. Alright, so there's the swatches. I do want to just say that when I swatch, I do wash off between swatches, and I allow my hand to dry, and I allow my fingers to dry between swatches. So those aren't wet swatches, they're dry swatches. That's pretty much it. As a wrap up to this review, am I glad I purchased this palette? Yeah, I'm totally glad I purchased this palette. Do I think you should purchase this palette? I would say that depends on a couple of things. Are you adventurous? Do you like using color? Do you think you're going to use it? I think that's what it depends on, you know? But I'm saying the quality is there. So I hope this review was helpful and you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas for videos, please let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. Also, on another note, I'm doing a giveaway right now on my channel, and it's going from 11/14 to 12/14, and it's really easy to win. I'm going to leave a card up here with the video that explains the rules and everything. Just click on that video, watch it, and you'll know exactly what to do. So, yeah, see y'all later. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!